Ever wonder how a lottery winner's jackpot is actually calculated? Or how a bank decides on your mortgage payment? It's all about this really cool financial idea, basically translating money through time. So today, let's dive in and unpack the world of level annuities.
So, here's what we're going to cover. We'll start with a little timeline adventure to see why a dollar today isn't the same as a dollar tomorrow. Then we'll officially meet the annuity, figure out why timing is so critical, and spot these things out in the wild. And then for fun, we'll even look at payments that never end and ones that get put on pause.
All right, let's kick things off with the single most important idea in finance. Seriously, imagine our friend Alex is figuring out what a big settlement he's been offered is really worth. The number one thing he's got to get his head around is this. Thanks to interest, the money you have in your hand right now is way more powerful than the exact same amount you're promised in the future.
And that brings us to the big puzzle. For Alex, is a promise of $1,000 a year for 10 years the same thing as a check for 10 grand right now? I mean, your gut probably tells you no, but why exactly? And how much less is it worth?
Well, to figure that out, we use a tool called discounting. Think of it like this. That $1,000 Alex gets a year from now isn't worth $1,000 today. We have to translate it backward in time. Because of all the interest it could have been earning this whole year, its present value is always less than its future face value.
Okay, so we've got a handle on valuing one future payment. But Alex's problem isn't one payment, it's a whole stream of them. And that is where we finally meet the star of our show, the annuity.
Now, don't let the fancy names scare you. An annuity is just the technical term for any series of identical payments made over a set time frame. It's like a financial rhythm, same amount, same interval. This could be anything from an inheritance to a legal settlement.
Now, there are really two main ways to look at an annuity. You can stand at the beginning and ask, what is this entire stream of future cash worth to me right here, right now? That's its present value, or PV. Or you could stand at the very end and ask, if I took every single payment and invested it, what would the whole pile be worth when it's all over? And that's the accumulated value, or AV.
Okay, now we're getting into a detail that seems small, but trust me, it's a huge deal. It's not just about how much money you get in each payment. It's about when you get it. That little shift can totally change the math.
So, let's look at the most common setup first. It's called an annuity in arrears. All this means is that the payment for a period shows up at the very end of that period. So, the payment for year 1 arrives on the last day of year 1, the year 2 payment arrives at the end of year 2, and so on.
But what if we flip that? What if Alex gets his money at the beginning of each period? Well, that's called an annuity in advance, or sometimes an annuity due. Here, the first payment happens right away, at time 0, and every other payment also comes one period sooner.
And here's why that is so important. Every single one of those in-advance payments gets an extra period to sit in an account and earn interest. When you add all that extra interest up over the entire annuity, the in-advance version is just flat out more valuable than the in-arrears one. It's the time value of money, plain and simple.
Okay, talking about annual payments is great for learning, but let's be real, most of our financial lives run on a monthly schedule. So let's bring this whole concept down to earth and see where it pops up in the real world.
Now, the jargon for this sounds a little funny. It's an annuity payable peathly. Yeah, peathly. But all that P stands for is the number of payment periods in a year. So if you're paying monthly, P is 12. Quarterly, P is 4. It's just a way of saying we're breaking up the payments into smaller, more frequent pieces.
And suddenly, you see these things everywhere. That monthly car loan payment? Yep, that's an annuity you're paying to the bank. A pension that gives you a steady check every month when you retire? That's an annuity you're receiving. It is the hidden engine behind so much of our financial world.
All right, get ready for a bit of a mind bender. We've only talked about annuities that have a clear end date. But what if they didn't? What if Alex was promised a payment that would just keep coming forever?
This has a name, and it's called a perpetuity. It's a stream of payments with no finish line. And while it sounds kind of theoretical, it's actually used to value things like the dividends from a super stable company stock, the kind you expect will keep paying out for, well, pretty much indefinitely. So what's an infinite stream of money worth? You'd think the answer has to be infinity, right? But get this, it's not. With an 8% interest rate, a promise of £150 every single year, forever, is worth just £1,875 today. How? Because those payments way out in the future, like 300 years from now, are discounted so much they're worth practically zero in today's money. Eventually, adding more payments doesn't really add any value.
And what's really cool is the math is incredibly simple. You just take the payment amount and divide it by the interest rate. That's it. It's one of those beautiful little formulas that cracks open a huge idea, letting us put a real finite price tag on a promise of infinity.
Okay, for our last stop, let's throw in one final twist. What if Alex's payments don't start right away? What if there's a built-in waiting period? This happens all the time, especially when we're talking about retirement planning.
This, as you might guess, is called a deferred annuity. It's basically a regular annuity that has a pause button pressed at the very beginning. You've got the deferral period where you wait, and then the payment period kicks in and the money starts to flow. So you see this gap between today and when the first check arrives. To figure out what it's worth, you basically have to do a two-step calculation. First, you calculate the annuity's value on the day the payments begin. Then you take that single lump sum and discount it all the way back to today. And this logic is so solid, it's literally universal. The source material had this awesome quirky example of an alien on planet Xi who retires at age 60 and gets paid until 76. The point is, it doesn't matter if you're human or from another galaxy, the math to figure out the value of that retirement income is exactly the same.
So there you have it. We've gone from the simple idea that money now is better than money later, all the way to valuing infinite payments and even alien retirement plans. This is a super powerful tool for understanding loans, investments, and savings. The only question left is, now that you know how to do it, what financial decision will you look at differently?